This is the story in Teen Vogue. The profile of Vivian Jenna Wilson. Vivian Jenna Wilson, who is Elon Musk's estranged daughter. I think most of us kind of seen this all go down. And we are aware of just how brain destroyed Elon Musk is. And the irony in that he talks about the woke mind virus and the only person with a mind virus is him. And so his daughter has come out a couple of times and really taken her father to task, called his ass out. In many ways, Vivian Wilson's a lot like any other 20-year-old girl. The Los Angeles native spends hours a day on Discord with her friends. Oh, we know Discord. Loves reading RuPaul's Drag Race and Chapel Roan. Oh my God. Vivian Wilson, you want to come on the stream? Let's talk about Chapel Roan. And she runs late, 2 full hours late to be specific for our scheduled Zoom meeting. And like many 20-year-olds, she has a complicated relationship with her father. But not everybody's dad is the richest man in the world. And also the biggest fucking loser. That's actually in here. Teen Vogue wrote that. A man who spent the last few years consolidating power, becoming one of the most prolific posters on social media platform he purchased, and suddenly one of the most powerful figures in the U.S. government. Wilson is, whether she likes it or not, the daughter of Elon Musk. Wilson entered the public consciousness because of her father, but not for typical Nepo baby reasons. Before you ask, she's been financially independent from her father. Let's go, Queen. Since she came out as trans in 2020. So you can stop sending her Venmo requests for thousands of dollars. Something she says has happened before. At the time, she was trying to disconnect herself from Musk, eventually writing in a 2022 petition to legally change her name, that she doesn't wish to be related to her biological father in any way, shape, or form. Though she'd never publicly spoken about Musk before, her attempt to distance himself from him is what ultimately drew her into the public eye. Man, can you imagine that? I know people in here have either shaky relationships with one parent, both parents, or just no relationship at all. But imagine that your father is the richest man in the world, the worst of Reddit personified, and the biggest loser. And so all of this goes down publicly. Like, just imagine your dad is Elon Musk. I could just leave it at that. I have a sharp tongue, Wilson tells Teen Vogue. When you spend all of COVID in online communities of queer people who are constantly getting into drama and trying to read each other, you learn how to make a response very quickly and you learn how to be funny and snap at someone else in a comedic way. Getting into fights with other queer teenagers, that's how you learn how to be quick and witty. Maybe I should get in fights with queer. No, that would not be good. I would like to be wittier and I would like to be funnier. So maybe I just actually need to be a queer teen. Much like her father, Wilson is extremely online. Unlike her father, she's really good at it. I saw this one comment online. I wish Elon was my dad so I would never have to see him again. Oh God. Oh, that's so true. It is publicly known that Musk has as many as 14 children with 4 different mothers across the 20-year span. 14 and counting, FYI. 6, including Vivian, and a child that passed away as a baby with his ex-wife, Justine Wilson. 4 with Siobhan Zillis, a top exec at the Musk-owned company Neuralink. And 3 with musician Grimes. On February 14th, conservative influencer Ashley St. Clair announced a 13th child, who, as of this writing, Musk has yet to acknowledge. Still has not acknowledged this child. And on February 28th, a 14th child with Zillis was reported. Fatherhood is a core part of the public persona put forth by the CEO of SpaceX and Tesla and owner of X. Well, yeah, I think he's getting booted. I think he's getting booted out of Tesla, who frequently expresses alarm about declining birth rates and what he sees as their negative impact on society. As leader of Doge, which has laid off huge swaths of the federal workforce and shrunk spending for essential government agencies, he's brought his 4-year-old son, Xeagz, or Lil X, to meetings at the Capitol and a press conference in the Oval Office. 2 years after Wilson filed that name change petition, and just 9 days after Musk officially endorsed President Trump's campaign, her father spoke about her in conversation with Manosphere influencer Jordan Peterson, repeatedly dead-naming Wilson and claiming that she'd been killed by the woke mind virus. Yeah, so like, let's not ever lose sight of the fact that Elon Musk is a fucking evil piece of shit. He is just lowest of the low. He's fish shit. There's something on Twitter floating around about Elon intentionally only having male children, explaining his fixation on being hostile towards the trans community. Yeah, I mean, he is, when we talk about parents having this mentality of my children owe me respect because I brought them into this world, that is Elon Musk. The way that he talked about his trans daughter, and really his kids in general, is that he doesn't have to respect them, but they have to respect him because he's their father. And it's like, no, dude, you're a piece of shit and you don't deserve any respect at all. During that interview, Musk built on the picture of Wilson painted in Walter Isaacson's 2023 biography, Elon Musk. In that telling, according to Wilson, she was an angry, rebellious child, blinded by radical anti-capitalist ideology. Honestly, she sounds very based. Like, oh no, radical anti-capitalist ideology. Oh no. Oh shit. Yeah, lock her up. And hurting her father with her rash decisions. Oh, yeah. That's bad. That's really bad. So for the first time, Wilson spoke up. In a series of posts on Threads, she described Musk's characterization of her in an X post as entirely fake, calling him desperate for attention and validation, and told him to touch grass. It's amazing that the internet speak we use, the common refrain of touch grass, is the very thing that Vivian Wilson said to her father. She looked at him and was like, hey, buddy, touch some fucking grass. Okay, so let me just skip down a little bit. So despite her distance from Musk, she has unique insight into this precarious moment in the U.S.'s political history. But she's much more than the estranged daughter of the world's richest man. In fact, she says she barely thinks about her father. That kind of is the best kind. That's the best revenge, to be like, I don't even think of you. Wait, what is that from? Where it's like, I think about you all the time. It's like, I don't think about you at all. I am not giving anyone that space in my... Oh yeah, that's Mad Men. Yes. I feel like I see that float around the internet all the time. I'm not giving anyone that space in my mind, she tells Teen Vogue. The only thing that gets to live free in my mind is drag queens. Instead, Wilson says she's building her future on a platform she's created herself. She's living abroad and studying languages in school, French, Spanish, and Japanese. And before this all happened, she hoped to become a translator. But with her newfound prominence, Wilson's considering... Wait! Wilson's considering other possibilities like Twitch streaming! Oh, we got a collab. Oh, Vivian, you want to be a Twitch streamer? You know what? I would love to play Minecraft with Vivian Wilson. Yeah, Asmin, it's Soch over for you. Okay, Vivian Wilson is coming in, and she's gonna dethrone all these guys. She mentioned on a live she would go to Hassan's stream. That's fine, because Hassan doesn't game, so I'll game with Vivian. I haven't made any money from being famous at all. I have made $0 and 0 cents. I do live in a lot of people's heads rent free, though. I feel like Twitch streaming would be so much fun. I don't feel like the world needs another Twitch streamer, but I'd love to do it. No, Vivian, the world doesn't need most Twitch streamers, but the world needs you. Other on-screen options also appeal to her. It's my absolute dream to be on a reality show, which I know is absolutely pathetic. As an overdramatic little queer, reality shows are something I adore beyond belief. And with this cover story in the books, her first, it feels like more opportunities will be coming Wilson's way. That is because here's the thing, yeah, Connor, do your thing. Wait, actually, Connor Eats Pants. Hello. What are we even talking about? Fortnite Friday? Fortnite Friday. Hogan, thank you for the gift to Vivian Wilson. This is not just something where, okay, I want Vivian to have a great life. I want to be happy, etc. But you know that the more her social profile rises and the more popular she becomes the woman of the people. Vivian Wilson is for the people. That's the type of shit that Elon Musk, it drives him crazy. And as more people are being like, fuck Elon Musk, I did not elect him. I did not elect Elon Musk. Why is he calling the shots in government? He can't handle that. I just saw him saying before that he was like crying about Democrats being mean to him. And he's like, and actually they're not mean enough. Okay. People are not mean enough to Elon Musk. Having both Adrian Dittman and Vivian Wilson on Fortnite Friday would be wild. Who is Vivian? Vivian is the estranged daughter of Elon Musk, who first kind of gained some notoriety when she posted a thread that very accurately called out her dad. Okay. As a child, Wilson struggled through gender dysphoria and the attendant mental health issues it often causes. She's horrified by the wave of anti-trans legislation targeting young people like her. In the U.S., her peers are being demonized by the right and are left undefended by Democrats. One of Trump's first executive orders upon retaking office was to try to bar federal funding for healthcare providers that perform gender-affirming care for young people under 19. Wilson's compelled to speak out on trans issues, saying, I don't feel like people realize that being trans is not a choice. Obviously, it's not just trans people that are affected by the current administration, and mentions marginalized groups such as undocumented immigrants and people of color. I'm really trying to do more advocacy on that front, since the current admin has kind of been like a wrecking ball in that regard. So she is currently studying in Tokyo. Oh my God, I was just there. She's just as much of a firecracker in conversation as she is online. For the duration of our lengthy convo, she sits cross-legged on the floor of her dorm room, her straight blonde hair falling well past her shoulders. We bounce between trans gossip. What is trans gossip? Overly online discourse, her unusual extended family, and what she describes as our cartoonishly evil new government. So let me read some of let me read some of her quotes here. This is about her coming out. There was one night, it was 11 o'clock p.m. and I was like, I know for a fact I am trans. I had known for a few months at that point, and I was like, I cannot fucking do this anymore. That was the point where puberty was really picking up and everything in my life was completely falling apart. I was constantly having mental breakdowns in the middle of class. I could not get through days. I didn't want to wake up. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to rot, pretty much. It was like, I cannot do this anymore. If I stay in the closet anymore, it's going to take me down a very destructive path. What isn't trans gossip? Yeah, better question. I posted it on my public Instagram story 2 days before I told my mom. I do regret that. If I were to do it again, she deserves to be the first one to know. But yeah, this is how I came out. I said, I'm trans, she, her pronouns. Then in a different little text at the bottom left of the picture was, well, are you team PETA or are you team Gale? This was in the middle of my Hunger Games phase that lasted like 8 years, like 4 years after the movies came out. I was cringe. I have never not been cringe. To be cringe is to be free. She kind of looks like Angelina Jolie's kids. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, she's got she looks like, oh, who's Shiloh, I think. So are you team PETA or team Gail? I'm team PETA, obviously. Gail killed Katniss's sister. Fuck that bitch. Oh my God, so true. How did your mom react? She was very supportive of my transition. She's a published writer of supernatural romance fiction, which is where I get all my Vivianisms of being cringe and chronically online. When I came out to her, she was like, yeah, that figures. She kind of pieced it together. So when I came out, she pretended to be slightly surprised for 30 seconds and then was like, yeah, honey, okay. What about your dad? Nope, he was not as supportive as my mom. First of all, I had not talked to him in months. So I had to get fucking parental consent to get testosterone blockers and hormone replacement therapy. Did she so she had to get consent from both parents? See, that's the thing. It's like, here's another instance of when people are like, they're transing the kids. Kids can just walk into a store and be like, give me hormone replacement therapy. No, that's not how it works. No. And there are plenty of parents like Elon Musk where they do not believe in this. They do not believe in this type of healthcare. But I guess ultimately Elon had said yes. Okay, let me skip down. Are you on good terms with your siblings? That's a question. I will say I do not actually know how many siblings I have. That's fucking madness. If you include half siblings, that's just a fun fact. It's really good for two truths and a lie. I found out about the Siobhan Zillis thing the same time everyone else did. I had no idea about that. That is so fucked. I found out about Grimes having a second child because a drag queen posted about it on Reddit. For a time, me and Grimes were not really in communication because I wasn't in communication with anyone in that family, which still holds true. This is crazy. Tatiana from RuPaul's Drag Race Season 2 tweeted, not Grimes popping out another axolotl, which made the front page of the RuPaul's Drag Race subreddit, which is how I found out about it. Wilson says she also found out about Musk's reported child with St. Clair the same way, joking, if I had a nickel for every time I found out I had half siblings through Reddit, I'd have 2 nickels. So, are we going to get into the drama? Girl, exactly as much as you want to get into it. I don't keep up with that side of the family because I don't. My mom doesn't either. She's divorced. Work. So yeah, I don't really give a fuck about what they do. This is not my problem. I've seen X once when he was very little. She's divorced. Work. Speaking of some of your family, I feel like right-wingers are actually pretty bad at posting. They're not funny. You have to be funny. Most of them have the charisma of a soaking bathrobe. I mean, it's not my fault that most of them don't know how to be funny. It's not that hard. Oh, clock their shit. And yet between X and Meta, the right dominates so much of the cultural landscape right now. How do you think they manage to own so much of the social media landscape and still be so bad at it? That's my question as well, because I would like to know. I don't understand how someone can be so horrendously bad at everything involving social skills. Stand up is one thing, but if you can't tell a joke, if you can't be witty, if you can't make anyone laugh, just be funny. Do you consider your social media presence activism? No, I'm just saying what I feel. I think activism's a little bit more than that. I do feel obligated to talk about trans issues. As someone who did transition as a minor, I feel like there's so much villainization of that, and I would really like to raise awareness of the fact that trans care for minors, especially puberty blockers, is really, really important. So maybe stop demonizing these literal children or the people around these children who are just trying to help them feel comfortable in their own skin. We've seen such vicious attacks on trans minors, and it's important that we protect our trans youth and do all that we can, especially in this increasingly hostile political landscape. How do you think social media has impacted politics? Well, I don't know if it's been for the better. While queer people and marginalized communities have increased levels of visibility, we also have things like the alt-right pipeline and communities like 4chan where radicalizations become easier than ever, and that's increasingly concerning. But social media can also be incredibly informative. Double check everything, obviously, but it can be a really good way to raise awareness for certain issues. I feel like we saw this with Palestine and Gaza last year, where a lot of people initially found out about that issue from social media. So it's a complicated question. And I agree. I was once upon a time, I think, on the internet is evil. Social media is bad. And I didn't think about all the people who the internet has been a lifeline for them, or like how many of them have learned about an issue, have been exposed to a perspective that they had never been exposed to before because of the internet. Do you think we're moving in the right direction in terms of politics? No, it's terrifying. Every time I open my phone to read the news, I kind of just stare at the wall for 10 minutes. It's horrifying what we're doing, not only to the trans community, but also to migrants, to communities of color, to so many marginalized communities that are being systematically targeted by the new administration and having protections revoked. It's cartoonishly evil. You're very vocal online about your politics, but also specifically about your dad. Does that take up a lot of space in your day-to-day? No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. I mean, I'll see things about him in the news and think that's fucking cringe. I should probably post about this and denounce it, which I've done a few times. The Nazi salute shit was insane. Honey, we're going to call a fig, and we're going to call a Nazi salute what it was. That shit was definitely a Nazi salute. Yeah, Vivian is speaking only the truth. A Nazi salute is a Nazi salute, and that was a Nazi salute. The crowd is equally to blame, and I feel like people are not talking about that. That crowd should be denounced. But other than that, I don't give a fuck about him. I really don't. It's annoying that people associate me with him. I just don't have any room to care anymore. When I initially did the whole thing, when he came for me, the Jordan Peterson interview, that was the most cathartic moment of my entire life by far. I had all this pent-up energy. I'd wanted to speak out for so long after being essentially defamed in a book, after being doxxed. Everything that had gone on, especially in my childhood, when that finally happened, it was the most cathartic experience I have ever had. And then I was like, okay, whatever. I love how she's like, I finally unleashed all of this shit that had been building up for years. And I called my dad out. And then I went, okay, moving on. This didn't become a part of her identity, that she didn't get weighed down in this, that she also didn't get pulled into the kind of intoxicating aspect of social media when you are, let's say, the child of someone like Elon Musk, and a lot of people on the internet are gonna cheer you on and calling them out, where she didn't just make that then her whole thing, because she's like, I don't give a fuck about my dad. I've said some things. There's a lot of things that I haven't said. I mean, Elon is always doing shit. But I basically was like, I'm just gonna do this, and then I have the rest of my life. Do you ever feel scared? He's the richest man in the world. He is a pathetic man-child. Why would I feel scared of him? Oh, he has so much power. No. I don't give a fuck. Why should I be scared of this man? Because he's rich? Oh no, I'm trembling. Oh, shivering in my boots here. Slay the boots house down. I don't give a fuck how much money anyone has. I really don't. He owns Twitter. Okay, congratulations. People thrive off of fear. I'm not giving anyone that space in my mind. The only thing that gets to live free in my mind are drag queens. Man, this is such great energy. She's like, he's a man-child. He is so pathetic. I am not scared of him. So he's rich. So he's using that money. But like, but that's understanding the power that wealth like that has does not translate to me being afraid to stand up against him. I think that's really what it is. I don't think she's being, no. I don't think that she's being like, Elon Musk isn't doing damaging things. I think she's looking at this from her individual perspective. Like, what is he What is he going to do to me? That like I should just live in fear of this man because he owns Twitter, because he's got all this money. It's basically like, I'm not going to spend all of my time being afraid of him. I think that's the approach there. And we have to understand too that like this is the person who is the child of Elon Musk. This isn't just any random person saying this. You had serious issues publicly with Walter Isaacson's 2023 biography of your father. In it, Isaacson alternates between using your dead name and your middle name. He had an agenda when writing his book, which was to make Elon look good or look more complex than he is. She calls him Elon. In order to do that, he needed to villainize the trans teenager and make it seem like there were two reasonable sides to the story. Isaacson described your politics as radical Marxism in the book. Oh, nar. Do you consider yourself a Marxist? Well, I'm a leftist, not a Marxist. I describe myself by the things that I personally believe in and the things that I feel are pretty common sense if you think about it for more than 2 seconds. I believe in universal basic income. I believe in free healthcare. I believe food, shelter, and water are human rights. I believe wealth inequality is one of the biggest problems of the United States right now, especially of our generation. I feel like workers should be fairly compensated for the work that they do, and I don't feel like wealth should be hoarded by these mega billionaires who are the top 1% and who only have their own interests at heart. I've met some of these billionaires. They're not very good people. I don't think any of them are. Not a Marxist, wants to socialize everything. I think that look, I'm always torn between like how to... Politics is a journey, you know? Politics is it's a lifelong journey. And even when you think you've settled in your spot, you're still always learning and growing as you should be. And I also think that there is maybe I don't know, maybe this is a certain attitude of the moment. Maybe it's a like, you know, not just on the right, people not wanting to have an explicit political ideology, but instead it's like the things that they believe in type of thing. I think when you are someone who is trying to appeal to a general audience, I'm not saying that that's what Vivian's doing, but I know that that's the thing with leftist commentators, that you kind of just generally say you're on the left. And then what the focus is on the things that you believe in. And I get that some people are frustrated by it. Well, they're like, oh, okay, well, you're a socialist or you're a social democrat or you're a true Marxist Leninist. And socialism's complex and some people don't want to be labeled as a Marxist. Yeah. And I think some people who are trying to spread a broad message and are aware of the connotations, the assumptions around the title of Marxist might not want to scare people off. But also I do think that this is an attitude that a lot of young people have where they're not like identifying, they're not picking specific labels. Not everyone's read enough to know how to label themselves either. True. Mm-hmm. Totally. So she's like, these are the things that I believe in. Okay. Does your transness inform your politics? If one of the sides of the political spectrum's like trans people are men who are invading women's spaces to whatever, and they're trying to take away trans healthcare and trans rights and trying to minimize our visibility, and one of the sides is like, no, then it kind of has to. If you're trans and conservative, you're voting against your own interests. But also, I'm 20 years old. I'm constantly shifting and evolving. I'm never going to be conservative, obviously, but I feel like everyone's politics change. Yeah, I think she's kind of, that's basically what I was saying. Do you think your parents influenced your politics? Seeing that kind of wealth, extravagant wealth, firsthand while living in Los Angeles and seeing the huge homelessness problem, the wealth gap, you start to wonder, how is this fair? You have to inevitably come to the conclusion it's not. There's no world in which people should be owning multiple private planes, private islands, private whatever, and while other people are sleeping on the streets. You know, the other thing too is like, one thing that Waltz was so good at was talking about was describing progressive and populist ideas and policies as being a good neighbor. He spoke a language that was very palatable and that was friendly to people who may be suspicious of even the word progressive. Because that's the thing. There are people in this country who they hear progressive, they're like, dirty communists. You're like, no, what? Because that's how it's been. Just simply the word progressive. The word progressive. The definition of progressive being, like literally, let me pull up Webster's definition. A person advocating or implementing social reform, or happening or developing gradually or in stages, proceeding step by step. And it's a scary word. They're like because progress is a positive thing, but it's been demonized. There's so much propaganda and labels. Totally. Have your parents' politics changed? Was Elon always like this? I'm not going to answer that. I'm sorry. But his views are not because of me. It's such a convenient narrative that the reason he turned right is because I'm a fucking tranny, and that's just not the case. That's not what that does to people. Him going further on the right, and I'm going to use the word further, make sure you put further in there, is not because of me. That's insane. So I do feel like I have been a person who has thought that like Elon Musk was radicalized in this insane way because he has a trans daughter. And I think what she's saying is okay. I think it's not that there isn't truth to his obsession with trans people, with the woke mind virus, with why he bought Twitter, is not connected to his trans daughter who rejected him. But I think what she's saying is like, don't use me as a trans person. Don't use me as a trans person to explain why my dad is the way he is. It's part of his personality, not that her choice made him like that. Yeah. I take it he was already right wing, but she may have made the underlying conservatism more radical. Yes, and I think also what that can do is backfire and kind of put the blame on trans people in a weird way, or on his trans daughter, where it's like, oh, Elon Musk was totally normal. He was a good guy, but then he had a trans daughter. So it's the classic, a woman rejected me, so now I have to oppress them. Yeah, where it's like, Elon's been a piece of shit, okay? Elon's views have been awful forever. I mean, literally, Elon Musk comes from a family where his dad said a lot of horrible things, but one thing his dad said was, we didn't have any black friends. The only black people were our slaves. Something like that. But the Musk family, great family. Amazing family. I haven't talked to him since 2020. That was almost half a decade ago at this point. Thank God. That is actually horrifying to think that 2020 is half a decade ago. Someone's Twitter profile is not who they are in reality. Your perception of someone is a very small glance of what they're choosing to let you into. To judge everything a person says or someone says online as what they really believe is dumb. Yeah. To the Brennan Lee Mulligan quote, on the level of individuals and civilizations, personality predates ideology, meaning before you were a fascist, you were a bully and an asshole. Great quote. It feels in this particular historical moment like trans people, especially trans women, are public enemy number one. Does it feel scary to be so visible, not only as a trans woman, but as a public figure? As a trans woman, I'm terrified of losing access to guaranteed medical care. If I didn't medically transition at the age I did, I don't know what would have happened. I don't feel like people realize being trans is not a choice. I'm so sorry to break it to you. Yeah, I think the whole, well, it's a choice. Would you choose? Would you choose seeing how trans people are treated, how difficult we make things for trans youth and trans adults in this country? Is that something that you would choose, really? Just add extra obstacles into your life? Yeah, it's like when a gay kid in the 90s getting beaten up. You're like, yeah, being gay is a choice. You're like, yes, it is. And I really wanted to get beaten up. I really wanted to have my face punched over and over again. And so, yeah, that's why I chose to be gay. Just add hate crimes to your life. I like to ask those people when they chose to be straight. Yeah, being straight is a choice. I mean, how many people are like, God, I wish I wasn't straight? It's like, yeah, well, it's that same mentality. Being straight is a choice. Okay, do you have any advice for trans women? I'm going to quote YouTuber ContraPoints. Stay strong, sister. Don't let the bastards get you down. Don't let other people's perceptions of you affect your own. Don't be ashamed of being trans in a world that constantly tries to make us ashamed of who or what we are. My transness is not an asterisk to my personhood. I value the trans community so much. I value the queer community. I value trans history and queer culture and all that to such a high degree, and I would never want to distance myself from any of that. Yeah. Before I became famous, I had this really wonderful community online with 7 of my friends who I had met through a different community. We formed our own little clique. We still chat every night. We have for years. People really devalue the worth of online friendships, and they mean the absolute world to me. Wilson starts to cry. Why is this the thing that causes me to cry? Some of the people I'm closest to are people I've never actually met in real life because they live hundreds or thousands of miles away. And this is the thing with like the internet and trans kids, is how a lot of times it's a trans kids only lifeline. That they've met other trans kids online, that they've formed community, and these are not people who live in proximity to them. And same with a lot of people. It's not just people who are trans, but it's how the internet has been a place to form a community when you feel like you don't have any around you. Where do you find joy these days? I'm constantly checking up on my friends who are also checking up on me. I've tried to delve into the things that I'm interested in more, and that's really all you can do. I'm really interested in drag. I love drag. I have such an appreciation for the art form, and I would love to participate in the LA scene sometime. It's on my bucket list to win a drag pageant. Okay, queen. Would you want to do drag as a hyper femme queen, or would you go all the way back around and do drag king? I think I'd be a drag king. I think that'd be more fun. But I feel like I'd kind of want to do both. Honestly, what if I was a femboy drag king? I'd eat that up. What's your ideal track? Okay, so the first number, I want to do this, and I know it's kind of cliche, but the iconic cerulean speech from Devil Wears Prada. Yes. I would just gradually reveal more and more cerulean and just live my Meryl Streep fantasy. I'm obsessed with that movie. Oh my God. Hi, Anna Wintour. I don't want this to sound bad, but I feel like no trans people want to be trans. Well, listen, I think what it is not wanting to be trans. It's wanting to feel right in your body. It's wanting like what your gender was assigned at birth to match with how you feel on the inside. It's wanting to feel and be acknowledged in the true way that you are feeling in your body, in your heart, in your mind, and to not have to deal with any shit from that. You know? Like that goes for it's the queer community in general. You know, I use the example of gay kids being gay, being called a choice, and how just if you were gay, if you're perceived as gay, that was a one-way ticket to being bullied, of course. And so the ridiculousness of saying that something is a choice when it's like that's resulting in me being victimized. Yeah, what a great choice. I'm so glad I chose this.